What if I told you that you can fall head over heels in love with yourself? I'm talking that all-consuming, can't get enough, love everything about you type of love. Well, you can. The Self Plus Love Equals Balance podcast is here to show you how. Every week, we'll share tested strategies, personal stories, and invaluable resources to help you take a balanced approach to loving yourself. Here's your host, Carrie, the Balanced Nurse. Let's get to the love.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Self Plus Love Equals Balance podcast. And wow, I'm so grateful, so severely grateful that you have decided to take the time out to vibe with me today. You're always going to hear me thank you. However, because of the time of year and what we have going on right now, it's the season. Yes, I want to throw a little bit more gratitude your way. And this episode is actually about gratitude, but in a different realm. A lot of people do not attribute gratitude to being part of self-love. Why? Because depending on what your definition of self-love may be, a lot of people have this interpretation that self-love is something that is selfish, right? It's you thinking about yourself, you're all about yourself, and it's way more than that, to be quite honest. And so if we explore just gratitude, and here let's look at it for what it is right now. So all up and down your timeline right now, you see people who are normally your chronic complainers, that they have this shift. It's this sense of gratitude for all the things that they're thinking about, that they may have accomplished or that they have over the course of the year, which is amazing. I actually love scrolling around this time of the year where you see all this good stuff, right? And people really looking at the positive of their situation. And so, if we also take that a step further and just kind of broadly define gratitude, it's having to do with having this state of appreciation for where you are or what you have in order to allow you to keep pushing forward, right? We're not necessarily looking for anything when we are reflecting on this, but we're like, wow, yeah, my family's amazing, or wow, I am able to pay my bills, or oh, I'm so excited that my health is great. Whatever it is, you're reflecting on this. And so if we take that and we apply the concept of itself, right? It to be grateful gives us this shift in our emotions, right? So it's actually impossible for you to be angry and grateful at the same time. And so gratitude is actually an underrated tool that we can use to combat things like anxiety, depression, being impatient, being a chronic worrier. Gratitude sounds like it's something that's just too simple for us to do, that when we hear about concepts as far as implementing gratitude daily, it sounds like it's like, yeah, but give me something more. Yeah, I do that. Yeah. So when we think about how we can apply this to self-love, right? Self-love really comes from a space of wanting to not just be our best selves, but also wanting to feel good, like as much as we can along the way, over and over again, times 10, times 20, whatever. It's really about everything that feels good to you. And gratitude feels good. So why would it not be part of our self love practice, right? So if we take the idea of, okay, here we are. And I know that when I start my mornings off negatively, like for instance, if I stub my toe and then I leave my lunch and then my phone dies and I can't find my keys, I can't find my pocketbook, and my child isn't acting right or whatever, we think about how powerful we are in being able to really start a domino effect of a really bad day just from having a negative hiccup maybe in the morning. I used to really be I was really bad with being the culprit of saying, oh my God, now today's going to be horrible. I'm going to have an awful day. Oh, this isn't working. This day is going to be, it's already starting horrible. It's going to be an awful day. I would already check out of my day before it even started just because I had myself a little hiccup. And I realized how powerful I was because I was always right. Maybe like 97% of the time, I was always right. So I would start off with a bumpy day and then return home as though I had gone through several different roller coasters of negative events and I just would not be able to take one more ride. And I was able to really gain an appreciation for how powerful I am when it comes to giving into one negative issue, one negative hiccup, one negative event to take control of my entire day, whether it's an 8, 10, 12, 16-hour day. Wow. How powerful could I be if I'm able to turn this around, and use that same power in a positive way? And so, one of the tools that we can use to do that, because it's easier said than done, just, think positive. No, gratitude helps us with that because gratitude automatically shifts our emotions, right? It moves us from a space of just saying things because we have to say it to now saying what we truly feel, right? I am grateful for being able to pay my bills. I'm grateful for being able to feed my children. I'm grateful that I have a job that I go to, and it can be very minor to where it almost highlights how minor the things are that are triggering us, right? If you're not in the ideal job that you like to be in right now, um, very often impatience really gets the best of us. And even if you're working on changing your situation right now, staying grateful during that time can really make the ride a little bit better. Because if we do not, I mean, come on, we're human, life gets in the way, and we start to beat up on ourselves. Right. And beating up on ourselves or self abuse is the complete opposite of what our goal is when we talk about self love. So, gratitude is important for us to implement in our practice because it allows us to not just feel good, but it allows us to stay on track towards where we have to go. So, that job that you are not a true fan of or you're not looking forward to going into, you can say, you know what? I'm grateful that at least, I'm able to be home with the kids at night, or at least I can start to pay off some debt while I'm going to school and working for this, or at least whatever the case is, it keeps us on our journey, right? Because it's so easy to give up. Very, very easy. We can get down. As many things that you can find wrong with your situation, you have just as many that you can find right. And what do I mean? Because when we're working towards our goal, right? You setting a goal, first of all, it's amazing, right? Really setting one, and don't forget to include a date with that, right? So we're setting a goal. It's going to be hard because you set that goal does not mean that it's going to be smooth sailing, right? You're taking control. You set that goal. What keeps us on track and keeps us pushing through when it's difficult is us being grateful for how far we've come and where we are, right? So that's really the next concept that I'd like to highlight is, implementing self-love or gratitude rather on our self-love journey. It helps us stay on the journey. It keeps us going because very simply the hiccups that we experience that really start to nag at us to turn around, that has to do with doubt, that has to do with fear, that has to do with impatience. None of that has a place when it comes to being grateful, right? I can reflect on lots of grateful moments as I tell you, stories of the previous version of myself. And it's always in a state of gratitude where I'm like, wow, I'm glad that I was able to experience that so that I can tell this story, right? Where, trust me, in the present moment of going through that hardship, I was not so grateful or not really enjoying it. Although I will say that these days, when there's a struggle, one of my tools that I really turn to is gratitude. Because when we reflect on the worst case scenario, so let's try this. The exercise that I like to do when I'm really having a hard time working through a situation, and let's face it, like women, we have a lot that we go through. We have a lot of balls that we're juggling. We have a lot of fires to put out and problems that we're solving. And sometimes it can be a bit much, right? And so I like to use gratitude to have me consider the worst case scenario, right? Because if you're an anxious person or a chronic worrier, you are fixating on what you feel is going to happen that has not happened yet, right? And depending on how grand your imagination is, you're probably already gunning for the worst case scenario. So fine, let's entertain that. Let's go to the worst case scenario of whatever your current situation is right now. And really dig into that. Really feel that. Feel your chest pounding. Feel like, oh my gosh, what would I do? Oh no, that can't happen. Feel that. Feel that anxiety. Feel that, pressure on your chest that we're giving ourselves. And then reflect on the fact that you're not there. It's not that. It hasn't gotten there yet. You almost immediately have this sense of relief, right? Where it's kind of like when you think that you've missed a step. Really bad analogy, but it's like you think that you missed the step, but you really didn't. So, so you end up stepping down hard, and it's like, oh, I thought that step was way down there. I was bracing myself to fall. That's what we're doing when we're relying on gratitude to get us out of a situation. Thinking about what the worst case scenario is, and then realizing we're not there and being grateful for that. So we are automatically able to shift ourselves out of some really heavy emotional experiences that we need to get out of emotion and now start to get into action, truly. Right. The other way that I implement gratitude on my self love journey is, and this is the only time I'll tell you it's okay, which I've mentioned before, is comparing myself and comparing myself to the previous version of me. And all depending on what I'm working on, whether it's a time frame that I'm going back to compare myself. Sometimes I go back through my journaling and I reflect on, wow, my growth through whatever issue it is that I've been working through. But when you compare yourself, your current present day self, your hardworking, goal slaying self, to whatever the previous version of yourself had been, you have this sense of gratitude because only you know what that time period in your life felt like and what the time period in your life right now feels like. Right. And so it's like this superpower that you have in being able to keep yourself on track, keep pushing forward, and knowing that, hmm, wow, look at all of this progress that I've made. I'm so glad that I'm not that version of myself anymore. I'm so glad that I don't do those things anymore. Look at how much my life has elevated in just me giving up A, B, or C. Whatever it is that you're able to identify with, having this level of gratitude, it absolutely keeps you on your journey to your best self. Because what can we do? We're so awful to ourselves. We will absolutely beat up on ourselves. I'm not this enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not doing this. I could be doing this. Oh, I should be this way. I should be on this level. I should be making this much money. I need to be a better parent. And we're not looking at how far we've come to know that you're almost there. We're almost there, right? So if we think about just in a holistic sense and being able to address, okay, self-love means that I am, really focusing on the best version of myself. Part of focusing on that is making sure that I feel good along the way. I'm not abusing myself. I'm not taking myself or anybody else for granted. But in doing that, I'm human. It gets hard. So I need to stop along my way and be grateful for the journey so far. Sounds easy, right? It's not, but it is so rewarding. The spiral that you find that yourself will go on when it comes to, fixating on a particular issue, that in the grander scale of things, depending on what you're trying to accomplish, is really minute. We can take back our power from fixating on that really minor issue, um, by being grateful. By being grateful. Right? So I think that if we remember, not just for this season, not just for the holiday, not just because we want something, if we remember that gratitude is like a secret weapon that allows us to immediately shift our emotions, you'll realize how important it is for you to do this every day. Your morning is really the it really should be the most powerful time of your day, where you're really pouring into yourself. Let's face it, we're spending 80% and some of us more of our day focused on other people and other things. Basically, more that is being poured out of our cup than what is being poured in. And your morning really should be spent on, filling that cup up. So, whatever it is that you have to do to make yourself productive and feel good, that's the time that you want to do it, because you're basically setting the stage for your day. So, part of my morning routine, and we'll dig into things like morning routines and so forth, has to do with gratitude. And, sometimes you're human, you're not in the mood. You're like, oh, everything sucks today. The day didn't even start and everything sucks already. I just feel it. I know it. So it takes a little bit of exercise for you to, you know what? I am grateful that I got to go to bed 30 minutes earlier than what I normally go to bed because that's something I'm struggling with. Or I am grateful for loving friends, or I'm grateful that, my car is not giving me any trouble. You'll start to see that once you push yourself to acknowledge the things that, if something were wrong, would be an issue for you, um, you'll see how easily everything else flows, where you can go into the more deeper aspects of your life to really have the sense of gratitude. But you can start surface level, absolutely, because if you wake up and you're able to, put those feet on the ground and get it moving, you already have quite a bit to be grateful for. The other thing that I would leave as a tip is to reflect on how being grateful shifts your mood or shifts your circumstances, right? So I have great stories of how gratitude has allowed me to accomplish some really amazing things. And I would think of certain circumstances like, what's a good one that I can give you? Oh, I know. When I was really struggling as far as trying to figure out what I wanted to do in order to be able to have this work life balance. And I know that for me, it's always been a professional and a personal struggle. And, childcare was something that was, boy, was it such a puzzle for us. And I remember feeling as though, you know what, gosh, I wish that if I could just find someone to help me with my son that I can trust, but I don't have to feel as though I'm giving up my motherly duties and still be able to do this or that or work and whatever. And so I kind of put out there what it was that I wanted as I was on this quest of figuring out, okay, I'm going to balance this whole mommy and professional adulting life of mine, right? So went on our journey. We're looking for babysitters, and we found this really amazing babysitter. And our schedules were not ideal, so I know that it was going to be quite a bit of an effort just to not just get a babysitter, but keep a babysitter. And I remember having such an intense level of gratitude for every single thing that she did for us that unknowingly I did not realize how many professional doors opened up for me, right? Because of this gratitude that I had with what had been my personal struggle and being able to have like a work life balance. It almost like shifted my focus away from the professional imbalance, because ultimately if I'm okay at home with my family, then professionally I shine, because at that point the energy that I would have been pouring into, or rather splitting between worrying and trying to settle myself professionally, is now solely being directed to my profession. So little things like, even washing up the dishes or putting a load of laundry in, none of this, which we had asked for, I was always in like this severe state of gratitude. And this, I would say, was over a time period. And I did not know as much about gratitude then as I know now, but I do know that when I reflect on it, I'm able to see the little minor and major miracles that occurred just solely in me focusing on what was going well, what was great, as opposed to what was not, focusing on what I had as opposed to what I did not have. And because I was able to shift my focus, I was able to be in a state of feeling good way more than when I had previously been in a state of always being down and really attracting um, what was in alignment with my energy at the time. When you are down, or when you are worried, or when you are anxious, or when you are negative, you're always looking for the same thing. Your mouth may say that you want different, but your attitude, your energy, your actions are all calling in things to keep you in that space, unless you really make the intentional action to shift and change that. And so I hope that can kind of give you some like a real life experiment as to, and at the time I didn't know it was an experiment, but real life experiment as to how implementing gratitude on more than just like oh, it's Thanksgiving, I'm so happy for my family kind of level, like really to where it's like, you know what, I want to change my situation, but I know that even though my situation is not great, let me look and see what I can be grateful for about it in order to allow me to do the inner work to push me towards changing it fully, And the last piece of that, or the last tip I would leave you with, is really considering the worst case scenario. I know we talked about that in the beginning, and that really, really helps, because innately we're negative Nancy's, especially when we don't get what we want, or especially when it's not in the time frame that we think that we should be having it, right? So fine, play the game. Go to where your mind is taking you. Go and worry about that. Go and reflect on that, but do it in an exercise arena, as opposed to really staying there. And then reflect and realize, you know something? At least I'm not there. And so let me be grateful for where I am, and what do I need to do right now to make sure I do not get there. And it'll keep you not just in a positive space, but in a planning space. Because anger and worry, they really cannot coexist when you're grateful and planning. I hope that that was on time for someone, because it always is a great reminder for me. So anyway, I hope that you have enjoyed vibing with me today. I hope that you have also been able to get a little bit of something in terms of sprinkling some gratitude in your self-love practice. And most importantly, I hope that you are able to take that something with you to be able to start to put it into practice now, if you're not already doing it. So if you'd like to vibe with me on a deeper level, I would absolutely love that. Whatever platform you're listening on, the details are also in the details of this episode, but you can always reach out to me. My website is www.thebalancedrn.com. You can also email me at info@thebalancedrn.com, and we can connect there, whether you want to connect with me for my wellness and life coaching, or all the other goodies that I offer. So you can take a look on my website, and let's connect. And outside of that, I am wishing you a very happy holiday. Stay safe, stay balanced, stay blessed, and until next time, bye.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Self Plus Love Equals Balance. Be sure to rate and review us on whatever app you use to listen. It goes a long way in helping others find our community. Until then, remember to do your math a little differently and love yourself.